Today we're just going to have a look at some tooling for the Spindle Moulder. Now, I've been asked quite a few questions over the last 12 months or so in relation to different things about tooling, but I just thought I'd do a brief little video here just for the people who have got themselves a Spindle Moulder and they're not really sure what they need as far as tooling goes, because when it comes to these machines, the sky's the limit as far as tooling goes, and you can spend 10 times the cost of the machine on tooling and still not have enough at times. Like, I've got a huge cupboard full of tooling. There's tens of thousands of dollars worth. So I just thought I'd do a brief video for you just to show you, if you've got yourself a Spindle Moulder, what I would recommend as a universal setup, just so that it allows you to do most things. Like, obviously I can't tell you everything because it would depend on what you're doing, like work-wise, what you're actually doing as to what specific tooling that you'll need. But what I'm going to show you will just be a universal thing that'll get you by with most things. Now, if you can see in here, one of the most important things for anyone to have on their Spindle Moulder is a rabbiting head. Mine's just, just a 50mm circular block, 4-knife block with scribing cutters on it. It doesn't matter what line of work you're doing, you're going to need a rabbiting head at some point in time in whatever you're doing. So that would be one of my first purchases, just a 125 by 50 rabbiting head or something thereabouts. I'm not sure what they come in with machines that have smaller diameter shafts. Like, all of my Spindle Moulders are 1.25" shaft. I'm not sure what you can get in smaller ones, but that would be the first thing I would get. After that, I would probably get something like this. Not necessarily an ideal setup, but just something like this, like what it is. And I'm not talking about brand, I'm just talking about the actual type of thing. So, just gonna watch this doesn't fall out. So it's just a cutter head with limiting cutters in it, but you can buy, there's probably 100 different profiles of knives pre-ground for you that you can buy with these things. So for a fairly cheap little head, this is a really good universal setup to have for yourself, because, as I said, you can get all sorts of different mouldings in them. I mainly use these sort of things for running some colonial mouldings and fly mould, things like that, like just small stuff, because it's an aluminium head, it's fairly light, so it doesn't go too well doing hard timbers. But I mean, it works alright, but not ideal. But I would start with something like that. There used to be one years ago in the bottom of my cupboard. I don't even know that they're still around. I didn't get it out because for that reason, but it was called the Woodworker's Box. And it had a whole load of different profile knives in there that you could get, just allow you to do a whole stack of different profiling work just off the one head. So it's a really good concept for a person who's not flushed with money. I mean, none of us are really, but it saves you thousands of dollars, because when I got this, I think the knives were about like $40-something each. The head was maybe $400, $500 or something, but the knives were like about $40 a pair, so you could afford to buy numerous different knives. I've actually got 4 different sets of these boxes. I have them set up for all different things, so they're pretty good, really. The next thing I could never be without is what we call a drunk saw, or a wobble saw. It allows you to do varying size plows. Like you can set up. It's got a can't think of the word for it, but measurements all around, like a gradient around the outside here, and you just set it to whatever height you want your plough to be, and that'll make the saw wobble to that height, so it gives you a nice clean plough. I'm not sure how readily available these are anymore, because I've noticed they've more so moved over to heads that you can space and get all different thickness in your plough with them. But the problem with them is they're massively expensive. Like, these aren't very expensive, but those heads, they're hugely expensive, and I've been tempted from time to time to buy them, but I just can't justify the cost when I've got two of these plus another 2 different style drunk saws. I don't need these other ones. These do the job just fine. So if you can get a drunk saw, I'd go for a drunk saw over the other heads for sure. Now again, depending on what you're doing, but at some point in time you're going to need to do bevels. So a head like this where you can adjust the angle. So this can go from 45 this side all the way around to 45 that side. So an adjustable bevel head. I use this all the time. And it's a pretty universal tool, I think. Like, I don't think it would really matter what line of work you're doing. At some point in time you're going to need to run some bevels, so get yourself one of those. Now, we do a lot of board joining here, so I would get yourself, depending on the size of timber you're working with, like if you're only working with inch material all the time, then a 30mm one is fine. Otherwise, a 60mm. It's just a glue joint cutter, so it creates a joint for you when you're wanting to glue boards up edge to edge. A much better joint surface than just trying to do a butt joint. It just gives you a bigger gluing surface, and they're a really good idea to have. It also, because of the shape of it, hopefully you can see that. I can't tell, but because of the shape of it, the advantages that these have over a butt joint is if it happens to drift apart a little bit, you're not going to see straight through the joint because it's stepped. So it's 7mm difference from here to here. So one of these is a really good thing to have if you're joining up boards. Like if you're making tabletops, bench tops, door panels, you know, anything like that, you want to get yourself one of them. I won't pull this out because it's a bit of a pain, but that's a V-joint tongue and groove setup. I wouldn't say that that's necessary for the majority of people, but if you're wanting to make doors, cupboard doors, entrance doors, anything like that, at some point in time you're probably going to want to do V-joint paneling in it. So it's good to have one of those, but most certainly not high on your priority list if you're not, if you're not even doing that work. I wouldn't even consider it, but if you're doing door work, at some point in time I'd get one of them. I'll just stop it there because, as I said, I just thought I'd just cover, and the last one really doesn't fall into this category, but I just thought I'd cover the basics of what you really should look at getting for your spindle moulder just to get you going, and tooling that'll do the vast majority of your projects. Now bear in mind, everything that I've shown you here, rabbiting head, it's been a long time since I bought one, but about $500 or $600, or anywhere from $400 to $600 say. The glue joint cutters, I can't remember, probably around a similar sort of money. You could probably argue that they're all around the $500 mark, each of these heads, and then as you grow and you want to buy more stuff, it just gets more and more and more expensive. Like I've got heads in there that are worth thousands of dollars, ridiculously expensive. But But anyway, so these are the ones that I'd start with. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got the best part of about $2,500 worth of tooling there straight off the bat, and that's only the sheer basics of what you would really need. But I hope that gives you a bit of insight into where to start, or at least where I would start. Now, as I said, it's a bit subjective. Like, it's not the end all and be all of everything that you should get, that's for sure. Everybody will have a different idea, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of my perspective. If you were asking me where should you start, this is what I would recommend. Okay, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.